Give it a few seconds to catch up, and then we'll get started. Okay, here we go. We are live. Thanks everybody for joining. Today I'm joined by Nick Winfield and Tammy Connor from Avon. The idea is we're going to share Avon's journey that they've been on over the last year. It's actually a year since they implemented Thrive as a learning and comm solution for their reps across the whole of Avon. They've got an interesting story. They did it very quickly. So today we're going to be talking about all things implementation, the complexities of the migration itself, and how they drive engagement. And then we'll jump into the site as well and show some real examples of the amazing things that they're doing. So to begin with, let's do some quick introductions. Tammy, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Tammy. I'm the Global Digital Tools Training Manager for Avon International. So in a nutshell, I kind of oversee the platform for our 32 markets.
Cool. Yeah, and hi, everyone. I'm Nick. So I look after the training, content development and strategy for our representatives.
Perfect. Now, I guess everyone will be quite familiar with the Avon brand. It's been around for such a long time. It's very iconic. And I guess your deployment is quite different given the audience and the complexities of that. Do you just want to share with everybody, I guess, what Avon actually is structured like in terms of the reps and the employees and that type of thing?
Yeah, sure. So I can take that one, Tam. So, yeah, as you say, our audience is pretty big, as you kind of put in the name of the webinar, over 1 million representatives, spread across multiple countries. And with that volume, obviously, there comes a lot of diversity within the kind of audience. Mm-hmm. And within that field, we're kind of structured in to sort of different levels. So you have your representative, then a sales leader, and then a zone manager, and we service and provide content for all of those three levels. Obviously, with our representatives, they're the ones that are out there selling our products, and all of them will have different needs, different motivations, different experiences. Some of them work on Avon as their full-time business and as their primary income. Some of them will do it as a hobby and dedicate just a few hours a week to their business. And then some do it just because they love the products and want to buy them for themselves. But fundamentally, they're self-employed. So that's one of the things that we have to make sure that we're doing is engaging them in a way that supports them doing what they're trying to do, basically.
Yeah, I guess it's very different to a lot of our customers, I guess, where full-time employees, it's mandatory training. You have to go to the platform. You have to come up with lots of kind of strategies and techniques to actually drive people and create that pull culture where people want to return to it on a regular basis, right? And we'll get into some of the things that you've been doing to do that later. But let's go back. So it's a year or so since you went live, which has gone super, super quick. But if we go back kind of 15, 16 months ago, that was the time when you had to go live extremely quickly, right? And it was a bit of a mad rush. You had no choice but to go live within a kind of 8-week time period. Talk to me a little bit about how do you even go about coordinating a global rollout? 33 countries, millions of reps, migration, implementation, like just high level kind of go through what that process looks like for you.
Yeah, so obviously Thrive were fantastic. We had a really robust implementation plan and a project timeline that we just had to keep on track with. We had no choice but to make sure we were keeping on track through the whole 8-week period. We decided to do like a staggered launch approach across the markets so that we could just focus on like the core markets initially, like 7 or 8 markets. We could make sure we did UAT testing with those markets and check the language settings, check the login process, etc. Because we work through single sign-on, so they can actually log in through other Avon systems. So we just needed to make sure that all of that was working in the background. And we kind of had like pilot groups of people testing out the sites as well. So yeah, it was a super, super quick transition, but I think having that robust implementation plan was the key thing for us, and just having direction from your team, working closely with them, making sure that we were ticking all the boxes and keeping on track with it.
And I guess like one of the most complex aspects of an implementation is typically that data piece. Like you had thousands of pieces of content, historical completions, users to migrate over from your historical LMS over to Thrive. How did that go in that 8-week period? Because that was obviously challenging, right?
But that was one of the things we liked about Thrive, was that we were able to migrate across all of our users, all of their history, as well as all of the thousands of pieces of content. As you can imagine, with all the markets we have, there were thousands of pieces. So that was one of our biggest concerns when we decided to change platforms, and Thrive were able to do that for us. So that was a big stress taken off our shoulders. I think the biggest hurdle was around the tagging of the content. Is, as you can, like I said, it's 32 markets, thousands of pieces of content, and we needed to make sure that it was tagged to the right market, to the right audience. And we literally pulled in the entire central training team to assist us with that, because that was the most timely piece, I think. So I think, kind of looking back on that, because we did things like we literally signed the contract and it was head down, crack on with the implementation, it's tips would be to make sure that you are cleaning out users before you migrate, you're cleaning out old content before you migrate if you can. We were kind of up against it, so we didn't have the opportunity to do both of those properly. So we literally just migrated everything across. But we had our previous system, LNS system, running in the background until the end of March. So we had like a crossover period. It was just making sure that we had everything tagged and translated as well. So we had to have about 20 different languages translated into the site with all of the tags. So I guess that was the biggest sort of timely thing for us and the biggest hurdles.
And I think it was also, Josh, so I think it was also the fact that, we didn't want a blackout period where our representatives didn't have access to that kind of content, because they rely on it, they want to either from a resource perspective to help them when they're having conversations with customers, or if they're on a kind of current learning journey themselves and things like that. So it was really important that we had that kind of seamless transition over, rather than necessarily having a month's blackout period where there was no content for them to be able to engage with.
And then how did you approach the launch then? So you've done the migration, you've got the implementation ready, you've done the UAT, and you're going live. What were the things that you actually launched with to entice new reps into the platform? What was that campaign or the initiative that you delivered?
So we literally prepared all the markets with user videos, user guides. We did like an engagement toolkit, so like a full-on launch toolkit that we had. Working with our global comms team, making sure that we had like an engagement package basically to support the launch. So the markets had all the tools that they needed. They literally just needed to translate it at market level. And like I said before, we kind of did it in groups as well. So we could launch separate groups of the markets throughout March. Then by the end of March, we had all the markets launched, but it was just taking them in groups and then being able to support those markets if they had anything that flagged up that we needed to try and iron out as quickly as possible. But yeah, having that comm support was key for the markets to make sure they landed it properly and got it off to a great start.
And I guess you've got such different markets, right? They're so diverse. Like your markets in the UK versus Latin America, out to, let's say, the Philippines, in terms of how they actually engage with the platform. Some are heavy on mobile, some are web. It's quite different, right? So I guess your content strategy and actually how you launch to different markets is dependent, right, on the demographic, the audience. So you had to approach that differently.
Yeah, it comes down to a lot with the content that Nick develops as well, around making sure everything is fit for mobile, basically, because we know that a big proportion of our users will access the site through mobile. But I think it's using all of the social media channels as well. All of our reps are heavily focused on social media with their business. So we're making sure that we're utilizing all these social channels with the messaging, with the engagement. And we do that for all the things that we do, any launches that we do on a monthly basis. We rely heavily on driving Academy through the social channels to engage the reps.
And it's quite nice actually what you've done. For those that don't know, you can sign up, any of us can sign up to be an Avon rep today. You download the app, and Thrive's quite nicely integrated with the Avon app as well. So you download the app, which is your app for ordering and those types of things, but you access Thrive via that app, which I think is quite nice integration in terms of seamless access, integrated where they spend most of their time, right? Which is quite cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think, you know, from a rep's perspective, it's, you know, I don't want to have to be going to lots of different areas to get all the stuff that I need. I want to be able to go to my, you know, one-stop shop and then still be able to access, you know, whether it's training content, whether it's, you know, stuff to do with their business, their ordering and things like that. You know, it's ensuring that we give them that seamless experience and not making it difficult or putting barriers in their way to get to the content that they need at the time that they need it.
Sure. Well, look, last question, and then we'll dive into the platform and show everybody what you've built and how it looks. Launching within a tight time frame and getting that signed off by leadership and the wider exec team must be quite a challenge, right? Because training and the interaction of reps is critical to your business, right? You need to have a slick customer experience. How did you secure buy-in from senior stakeholders to approve this in such a small timeline?
Well, I think, you know, what was fit for purpose years ago, you know, it's evolved with the needs of the reps. So it was time to move to a platform that we could engage our audience and kind of move with the times a bit more. So we had a wish list that we agreed before we went into the whole process. So it was basically a process of elimination, which company could meet our complex needs, because we are quite complex of what we need, and who would complement us and complement the brand, basically. And, you know, we knew we would have our work cut out for us with a really tight timeline. So it was also, you know, making sure that who we partnered with can support us with that robust rollout in a quick time. And obviously Thrive came out as our #1 choice, ticking all the boxes for us. So we're quite excited about what's to come with all the new developments, etc. as well. So, you know, it's been a year that's been a hectic launch, but we've kind of settled a bit, and now we're finding our way and adding new things into the site. We've got badges launching next month with custom badges, which is a great feature. So yeah, it's kind of making sure that we had that sign off from the ELT, and it was a brand and a company that would complement Avon, basically.
Nice.
And I think it's just to add to that as well. I think it's just showing the value that training and learning can kind of bring to the organization. I think it's probably a challenge that most L&D teams and functions have. You know, how do you make sure that you're showing, especially when it's an investment, you know, that how do you make sure that there's a return on that investment, and that actually we're going to drive business performance, we're going to drive the KPIs through training the representatives, and that having a tool to be able to do that enables us to be successful.
And you started to do some work on the KPIs as well, right? In terms of what those KPIs were.
Yeah.
I think I saw some stats around, you know, the reps who are going through X pathways are having greater success in terms of sales as well, right?
Yeah, we've got some really great Tableau dashboards that we've built in partnership with Thrive as well, so that we can measure just the standard engagement of the content, but we can also integrate our sales data, so we can actually see the reps who are engaging in the content on the platform. They're having a bigger spike to their earnings compared to reps who don't. So that's really key for us, because it's a way that we can push out motivational stats and motivational messages to really catch their eye and pull them back into the platform. So yeah, KPIs on registered, engaged, logins, etc. are all key standard ones that we go after. But having that sales data integrated is, you know, really important for us as well, to see the impact that it's having on the reps.
Yeah, I remember that first success workshop that we did in Northampton when we kicked things off, and we're talking about what does success look like, what are the KPIs, and it was nice that you've moved beyond the traditional views, likes, completions, etc. to like hardcore KPIs in terms of increase of sales, average transaction value. That's nice that you can link it to that, and that's your focus.
And I think, you know, those kind of like adoption, the views and things are still important to us, because, you know, with the self-employed kind of audience that we have, it is important that we've getting that engagement and measuring it and making sure that the content that we're putting out there is the content that's going to help them, and so we can measure that by the engagement. But yeah, from a business perspective, of course, we want to make sure that we have an impact, and then, as Tam says, we can then use that content or those results and the stats to be able to then drive even more engagement, because then we're showing the value that that training brings. And so if anyone's unsure, should I be, you know, on to Avon Academy, and is it going to help me drive my business? By showing that yes, it can, it helps to drive that engagement even further.
Love it. Right. Well, let's share screens. Let's jump into actually what you've built and just give everybody an insight into that, because the site looks amazing in terms of what you've done. Let me just bring my screen up. It should be coming through any second. There we go. It's in dark mode, which Tammy shared, which I particularly like. I know everyone's got their preference, but I think with the Avon brand, it really really suits it. So Nick or Tammy, I don't know who wants to do this actually. Let's just walk through the homepage to begin with in terms of what that means for a new rep entering the platform.
Yeah, so we're using the campaign focus at the top. So every month, Avon launches a brand new product. So we have that as our campaign banner. So that will send out the notifications and emails directly to the reps, which will link them back into the platform. And that will then click through to all of their key monthly toolkits. So everything they need for that month, including the product cards, any assets they might need for social media, etc. It will click through into that pathway as well. So we update that on a monthly basis, and then they also get to know that every month there's something new in the platform. So if they just want to know about the products, they can come in and see what's launched and what's new. So that happens across all of the markets. We update that banner for them on a monthly basis as well.
And then moving down, you've got lots of different things happening, from like informal content to other things like pathways that they must do right as well.
Yeah, so we kind of use the featured content, which is like the assigned side of things. We're not saying it's mandatory, but it kind of like pulls it as a key feature for them to see when they come into the platform. And we kind of flag like the key pathways that we would like them to invest their time with. A lot of it is based on pathways. We try and keep everything within a pathway to keep it neat and tidy, so they can follow the segments and the menus within that. You've obviously got the recommended for you section. We utilize the events. So broadcast is another great feature that we love using. It's just been updated as well. So the markets are just getting to grips with starting to use the broadcast feature again, which is really popular. As we're a product brand, again, loads of product focus on the homepage. So all the different categories that we have for makeup, skincare, fragrance, bestsellers, and then latest content, your standard kind of carousel feature. And then we've got the frequently asked questions at the bottom as well. So if people just want to come in, they can browse the different questions if they're new to the site.
Yeah, this is great in terms of that social aspect, right? Because I guess like traditionally, I wouldn't say it's one of your biggest challenges, but it is a challenge in that a lot of the reps are quite familiar with using Facebook. With Facebook groups that are popping up, and naturally you want people to be within here, but I guess trying to mimic some of those social media behaviors within this learning platform is quite critical, right? In terms of the comments, starting discussions, replying with emojis, all that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We work with the markets to make sure that we're covering all the key questions and things that get flagged, so that they come to Academy and they can find all of that information as well.
And what's quite nice about the kind of pathways, Josh, is that the way that we've worked with them is that we have examples like what you're clicking on now, where we have it's a course. It's something that has a clearly defined start and finish, and there's content that people engage with it. And some of the features within the platform that have really helped us is almost taking it from a passive learning experience of just consuming content into a bit more of an active. So things like the comments have been a really great addition. I'm a huge fan of the tasks of encouraging them to go and do something, and then either commenting on what they've learned from that, or uploading some form of evidence. I think that driving the learner to do some action has been really, really powerful for us. And then just any other features where we're encouraging them to go and verbalize what they've learned and go and have a conversation about what they've learned. So we have that kind of course format. But then particularly in things like product, where it's a little bit more of a resource, you're not expecting them to go through every single product in the portfolio, but actually we can then use the pathway to signpost it and structure it in such a way. So if we have a skincare product page, then we can separate it out and say, and you can navigate it down the side by looking at your cleansers, you're looking at your serums, and looking at your moisturizers. So actually having that pathway and the kind of almost like the flexibility in how you use those pathways really enables us to give a different experience, and depending on what that content's supposed to drive, whether it's a resource, or whether it's a course that they're supposed to go on a journey or an experience for.
And that's all translated as well, right? So I mean, this one's been created by the Avon UK team, but this will be localized in the different markets depending on where they are. So the content will translate, the tags, the comments, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And the I think the explore section as well is quite important for you, like product-led organization in terms of structure it into folders and categories. Enable people just to browse and be curious as well. I think super important for your use case, not just saying, here's a pathway, go do it, but actually just enabling people to scroll through the site. They can use it on the app, they can search, or they can just explore like this, which I think works really well. Yeah,
I think that kind of like seamless journey, that's kind of one of the biggest things, feedback that we had from reps and leaders previously, was that, you know, the navigation side of it. We want to find things quickly. We want to simplify journey. So those were all, again, key things around coming over to Thrive to make sure that people can just find what they're looking for. They can browse, and it's just really intuitive for them.
Yeah, and as I said at the beginning, we have a, you know, there'll be a proportion of our audience who are only doing this a few hours a week. So if you create a journey that takes a long time to find the piece of content that I'm looking for, then it's frustrating because, you know, I haven't got that time. I don't have the energy to kind of do it. So the more we can make it simpler and signpost it and use things like the explore page, then the more engagement we get.
And what would you say the split is? Because obviously, like, I think when we initially started launching the project, there's always a bit of a blur between what's learning, like what's product training, and what's communication as well. Like, I've seen your CEOs posting videos in here, which is cool, like update videos as well. There's also a blend or an aspect of communication here too, right?
Yeah. Go on.
So you go.
No, you go.
No, it's like you said, it is a blend, Josh, between the three. I'd say we don't use it so much. There's natural communication that goes on with the site, and the campaign banner is a form of communicating with them. We don't have user-generated content switched on because we've kind of found through previous learnings how that can kind of muddy the waters when it comes to searching for content for the reps and things. So that there are certain features that we don't use within the site to keep it clean. But it's just, yeah, it's a blend of just quick fire PDFs, really short bite-sized learning, with more in-depth pathway courses for people that want to develop their business. But the communication piece is we haven't utilized it to its fullest advantage as yet, I don't think. But there's more to come around how we look at that and what we can start integrating in the future.
For sure. Well, the site looks great. I think it's, user experience is one of your number one requirements, right? And of course, the platform as the vehicle to deliver that is important. But I think how you've structured the content and the whole experience itself really lends itself to kind of elevating that user experience. Just conscious of everybody's time on the call and yourselves. I know we're all super busy. What would you say if you had to do this all again, right? If we went back 14, 15 months ago, I'll ask you individually, what's your number one thing that you do differently next time? I'll start with you, Tammy, because you were at the core face of it.
Yeah, I think time is the biggest thing. So something that we did in 8 weeks should have ideally taken around 6 months, probably, with the volume that we had to deal with, and making sure that we just took our time and felt comfortable and doing things at a slower pace. So I think if you have the time between 3 and 6 months to launch the platform, that's a perfect amount of time. So that would be what I would do differently, is give us more time to do it.
But if you don't have time, it's all possible. Like going live in 8 weeks, migrating million users, you did it, right? So
yeah, be more prepared beforehand if you can around cleaning the content, cleaning the user data and stuff like that. Just those types of things would be what I would do differently.
For sure. Nick?
Yeah, Tammy literally just stole my thunder on that last comment. I was just about to say, using it as an opportunity to do a bit of a spring clean on content. I think sometimes it can kind of sit there and you're not entirely sure that it's still there, and so actually just using that opportunity to clean it up a little bit and just make sure that everything that's on there is relevant for the reps and that there's not the extra noise that can kind of get in the way.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat there, actually. What's next for Avon? So you mentioned badges, Tammy, which is cool. Have you got any big plans for the next quarter in terms of new features or just general programs that you're going to launch in the platform?
Yeah, I think we've got there's projects on particular audiences within Avon, like sales leadership and things like that. But I think badges we're launching next month, so that's quite exciting. Markets have been looking forward to that for a long time, and we've gone with the custom badge as well, so we can make them more on brand. We've not done skills yet, so again, the skills feature is something that we've kind of been working on in the background, but that's quite a big project, obviously, to launch across all of the markets. I think they're probably the biggest things that are coming our way. Also looking at things like translation, which goes hand in hand with the amount of markets we have. That's like a key focus for us as well, to try and get that translation piece sorted to make it easier for the markets.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see, we're about to launch our assistant and seeing how you can really start to use that to help reps as well. So people can start to interact with the assistant, talk to it, we surface content from different platforms. I'm excited to see what you can do with that, because I think it really lends itself well to your use case in terms of, I need help with this. How do I place an order? What's the difference between this product and this product? I think your use case is literally perfect for that assistant to be integrated across mobile and web. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, the AI tools are quite exciting. So we're looking at all of those in the background.
Nice. Okay, we shared a lot there. We're up for time now, but I just want to say thanks to Nick and Tammy for sharing that story. I think you can all say it's one of the biggest implementations I've definitely seen from a learning platform perspective, especially within the time frame, which makes it even more interesting. Thank you everybody for joining. Again, Nick, Tammy, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will probably see you at Learning Technologies, I guess, in a few weeks if you're there. So we'll understand. But yeah, once again, thank you everybody for joining, and I'll speak to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.